Call Morris County Fiscal Court to order October 4th, 2016. We'll start under the guests today. Peel and Holland. I want to go ahead and good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. Thank you for letting us start this morning off. We'll be brief. We bring good news about the employee benefits for the county. What I'd like to do is take this second and sort of emphasize the things that are not changing, and then we'll talk a little bit about the changes and take any questions that you might have. There's no change in benefits or rates on our dental program that the employees have access to through Delta. There's a very small change in cost for the vision. It's voluntary. The employee can choose or not choose it. It's 5%, but that equates to, in some cases, less than 50 cents per month. Some, it's a little bit more than that. I think all cases are less than $1 roughly. Life insurance, we actually found a reduction in the cost of the life insurance and an increase for the coverage to give employees $40,000 of life insurance. So we're going to be asking for a recommendation to make that change. No change to the other programs we have except the health, and that's dictated by the Commonwealth of Kentucky through the Kentucky Employees Health Plan. What the Commonwealth has done this fall is they've basically made no changes, no significant changes to the rates. They've changed the rates about 1% on the standard options. There are four plan options. 2 are called standard plans. 2 are called CDHP plans. So very small change, and I'm talking about a rate change that's 12 cents in some contracts, 60 cents a month, $3 on another, 48 cents in one, and $2.88. So very good news in terms of here in the marketplace and the media today. The way that they approached that this year was that they made changes to the plans. So they raised the deductible on one of the plans, about $250 a year. They added about the same amount to the out-of-pocket limits on all of the plans. So again, that's how they got out of these rate increases. They just add a little bit more, so the folks that need the care more will pay a little bit more only when they seek care. Otherwise, it'll be a small amount of change in the rate for the people that choose the standard plan. And on your handouts, we really have less than 20 people on the standard plan, so most of the people are consumer driven. One change we will see is that in years past, employees who performed an assessment called a Living Well Promise, they were permitted to be in these Living Well plans. Otherwise, you had to be in a standard plan. This year, they're going to go away from that. They're going to let you be in whatever plan you want, but in order to get a reduction in costs, a $40 reduction, then a credit, you'll have to do this Living Well Promise. Last time I looked, we have worked with Emily and her team. We've really pushed for that Living Well Promise, and I think pretty much everybody does it, so I think we're in good shape there. So again, recap is all good news, very small change, less than probably 50 cents to $1 on vision, no change in dental, very small dollar increases on health care. Fiscally to the fiscal court, there's no change in the health care cost. The employer portion did not change at all. And again, a reduction in the amount of the life insurance that the employees have, and we would like to increase the face amount of that to $40,000. And by doing that, we can, still improve the coverage and improve the cost. So that's really all good news in a time of the only bad news, it seems like, we hear in healthcare and employee benefits. This is all good news.
Good. And I think this year the open enrollment is mandatory, right?
Yes, this is one of the mandatory open enrollment periods. And, I suspect with all the changes and wanting to get them in the Living Well Promise, they want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to understand. So we have already assembled the team, have the dates on the calendar, and we'll be meeting with all the employees. And if the families want to come in, we'll meet with them, we'll explain things and help them get their forms signed and make sure that goes well.
Perfect. Y'all have any questions? Appreciate it, Greg. I know one of the things that I've noticed in working with with Craig and Peel and Holland is that the facts are extremely detailed. And definitely, I think that says a lot for what you do in Peel and Holland. So,
Thank you. It's a lot of money that you're dealing with here, so we want to make sure we watch the numbers for you.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept. Second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Next, Brian Kurtzinger. Cutzinger. I always do that.
Thank you, Judge. You're not the
Yeah.
first person. It happens all the time. Well, the reason I'm here today is that each year the ambulance service replaces our oldest unit with money budgeted by the Fiscal Court. This year, just like last year, we'll be replacing a unit in which we'll be able to remount the existing box onto a new chassis. The cost for last year's ambulance was approximately $84,000, or approximately $85,000. This year, I would anticipate it to be about the same, possibly even a little more, maybe around $89,000 to $90,000. Remounting a truck is substantially cheaper than purchasing a new unit. A new unit can cost you anywhere from $135,000 to $140,000. So remounting trucks, obviously, from a financial standpoint, is the best way to go, as long as the box is in good shape and can be remounted. I've been in the process recently of putting together our bid specifications and got those completed. So with the permission of the court, I'd like to begin that process by advertising in the paper to begin accepting bids.
I want to also say that we've looked into it to try to find another way to help out the ambulance service in the department. And I tell you, what we found was the way you're conducting business on this is probably the best way. So I want to add to that, to commend you on what you've been doing behind the scenes, being a good steward of the taxpayers' money, trying to find the best, and not cutting down the service. The way you've got it set up, we looked at it up and down, and we basically came back to the way you're doing it. So I think we're definitely get our money's worth. It's a good system that you got in place.
It's very good, because most of these boxes, if you get it originally built by a reputable manufacturer that builds a good unit, you can remount them 3 to 4 times, and that, each truck's in service for 6 years, so you figure the years on, 3 to 4 times of remounting it versus 6 years in service. You can keep one box in service for a considerable amount of time.
Yes.
So it's, and that's what we try to do, and all of our units now are in good shape. They're good boxes, can be remounted, so for, probably 7 or 8 years now, we won't even have to consider purchasing a new unit outright.
Yeah, there's a big difference in the cost. Big difference. All right. I'll make that motion.
Move, you made the motion, second?
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brian.
Correspondence, is Maggie here? I don't see, she's not here? Do we have did we give them the presentation? We did? Okay. She's not here, but we'll go ahead. Did she say why she couldn't make it? Okay. Okay. So is it the 18th?
Probably make the presentation on the 18th. if she
Okay. We'll have her, she can give the presentation a lot better than I can, but you've got the information that she's going to give the presentation on. The Chestnut Creek watershed, working with the Friends of the Chestnut Creek. This is some great information. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait till the 18th. I'd like for her to explain that to you. So, let's see. We'll move on. The SBA declaration for Marsh County July flooding event. This is the SBA. They're here now, the Small Business Association. This is just a fact sheet. Disaster loans. I think we've had, Kurt and Darlene aren't here. Last time I talked to him, I think we've had about 10 people come in and sit down and talk with the Small Business Association. But this is their fact sheet. It's got basically the incident that occurred, the timeline, and the available types of loans. You've got the business physical disaster loans, economic injury disaster loans, home disaster loans. There is credit requirements, credit history, repayment, and collateral. The interest rates are low interest rates. Business loans at 4%, 0.25%. Nonprofit organization loans, 2.625. Business and small agricultural cooperatives, 4%. This is non-credit available, 2.625 for nonprofit organizations, and home loans up to 1.625. So there's several different loan types. They're located here in the courthouse on the second floor. So for those that are still needing SBA assistance, please come by and sit down with the two ladies that are here. If you meet the requirements, then there's support there to help you. Next, under correspondence, Marshall County Senior Citizens Day at the Park. Marshall County Senior Citizens Day at the Park, Mike Miller Park, October 14th this year, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're going to have hamburgers and hot dogs and chips and drinks. Come out and have some fun. They got door prizes. It's free. For more information, you can call 270-527-9860. But we want to make sure people know that that's an event that's going on that they can participate in. Also, you got an open house celebration for East Marshall Fire Department, Station 2. It's going to be at Big Bear Highway, October 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be at 1389 Big Bear Highway. Everyone is invited to celebrate the new station, visit and meet firefighters and first responders, and view the equipment that keeps the community safe. As always, we're interested in new recruits. So make sure you get out and meet your.
They'll be serving barbecue as well.
They'll be serving barbecue. Are you going?
I'll be there.
Let's see, under old business, approve the minutes for September 20th.
Motion to approve the minutes is written, Judge.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries. Ordinance 2016-11, budget amendment, second reading. Dennis, you gonna read that?
Okay.
Or is Emily reading that?
Beg your pardon?
Is Emily reading that? Doesn't matter.
Go ahead. If you want to, Emily, you know
Okay.
more about this than I do. I'll read the other one.
All right. Ordinance 2016-11, an ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof, whereas the County of Marshall has received additional funds, now be ordained by the Fiscal Court of Marshall County that Section 1, the annual budget for fiscal year 2016-2017, is amended to increase revenue accounts by $1,934,220.50 and increase expenditure accounts by $1,934,220.50. The amounts added to the revenue and expenditure accounts in Section 1 are for governmental purposes. First reading was held September 20th, 2016, was approved by the State and Local Finance Officer, Commissioner Donahue, on October 3rd, 2016.
Motion to approve the budget amendment.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is ordinance 2016-12, drainage construction, second reading. I think, Dennis, you're reading this one.
All right, this is an ordinance setting out specifications for drainage construction in Marshall County. There are 10 sections, standard specifications for right-of-way and drainage construction, which were adopted, set out by the Transportation Cabinet, and then also inspection and certification of construction, setting out the responsibilities for constructing road, street, storm sewers within the county, and the county road supervisor's responsibilities. Section 3, water flowing over county roads, and talks about unauthorized connections being prohibited. Also sets out that this is dealing with culvert construction, and that the county road supervisor would be, or other county personnel appointed by the judge executive would be the authorization official determining the need for a culvert, property owners being responsible for cost of culvert installation and maintenance by the road department, and that's set out in a little more detail. And then it talks about in the event of a natural disaster, that the county may repair or replace culverts in its discretion as deemed necessary, and sets out provisions in the event that a contractor, property owner, or property owner's agent blocks a county road ditch, that person would be liable for damages. It also sets out drainage requirements, and the county road supervisor needs to be satisfied with respect to type, size, installation of drainage features. And then it also sets out in more detail the requirements for drainage, and then also penalties for violation of the ordinance and the right of appeal for a person deemed to have violated that.
Okay. Is there any questions on this? If not, I'll make a motion to accept, or a motion to approve the drainage construction.
Second?
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
No,
Motion carries.
I still would prefer that we have this with the county continuing to put in the sewers. I think it'd be a better situation, but anyway, that's fine.
Okay. Next, the bids. Wendy, do you got the bids?
Yeah.
This is for the brine tanks.
I need to read the bid notice that was in the paper.
Yes, please.
Okay. Marshall County Fiscal Court will be accepting bids on the following brine equipment: 2 15,000-gallon to 16,000-gallon vertical poly storage tanks, 8 1,200-gallon to 1,300-gallon poly transport tanks with the base. Bid specs can be picked up at the Marshall County Road Department Monday through Friday. All bids must be submitted to the Marshall County Judge Executive's office before 4 p.m. on October 3rd, 2016. Bids will be open at 9:30, October 4th, 2016. The Marshall County Fiscal Court reserves the right to reject any or all bids. For more information, contact Wendy Greer or Jeff Jaco at 527-3173.
We received all of them prior to the 3rd, Wendy? Did we receive all of them on time?
Des got them all, I think so.
Okay. But we got them all. Okay.
The first one is Veritech Industries. It was submitted at 1:20 yesterday.
120. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the time.
Yeah. Their price for the 2 vertical storage tanks is $30,210. And the total price for the 8 transport tanks for the tandem dump trucks is $46,984.56. This one was Kentucky Fab. It was received at 9:29 a.m. on the 30th. Okay, their total price for the 2 vertical storage tanks is $25,960. Then the 8 transport tanks were $26,227.60. This is from IMCO, and it was received October 3rd at 2:10 p.m. The 2 vertical storage tanks was $35,929.44. The 8 transport tanks were $38,095.20. This one is from Advanced Tank Technologies, and it was received on the 30th at 2:31 p.m. Their price is 2 vertical storage tanks is $19,546, and that's delivered. And the other, the 8 transport tanks was $18,000 delivered.
On your bids, does that meet the material as far, I know that some of these tanks can be made out of different materials, but,
Yeah, they're all poly tanks, and which they mainly just turned in our spec form.
Okay.
So they don't have any other information with them. So Advanced Tank Technologies is the lowest bid.
does it meet your specs that you put out?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
What was the total price again for the storage tank?
$19,546.
The only thing I could think of would be the thickness. Is there any, do we have that in there, that how heavy the tanks need to be, or? As long as we've got apples to apples, I mean, if it's a good heavy tank, I didn't know if there's any difference or not.
Right. No, we didn't have the thickness in there.
All right. As far as the monies that were budgeted, it's within, these prices are within. So the lowest, I mean, the advance, and they deliver, did the other ones?
Say the motion to accept the low bid for those tanks and the transport tanks.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brad, you want to talk about the surplus auction? I know you
Sure.
put
Yep.
a lot in that.
So last Saturday, we had the surplus. Brad Harris did the auction, did a great job. You can see some of the numbers here on this document. The final settlement was a total sale of $13,806.50, less the total expenses. That's his advertising and his fee. So his total settlement is $10,078.20. Which he will provide a check here towards the end of the week on that. So, but it went really well. I think we've learned some things from it, maybe a better way of surplusing some of the computer equipment with some vendors that will scrap it, maybe with some scrap vehicles, things like that. But it was a learning experience, and maybe do some things differently. But all in all, we got rid of a bunch of stuff, so that's good.
That commercial range hood, it's still out at Barnes Grove.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And we actually had some people ask about that, so I think there's some other stuff out there at that building that
Yeah.
we need to get rid of.
I had a
That's-
restaurant call me, said he'd give $500 for it if you'd let him take it down. He said,
The hood.
the hood,
Yeah.
but it has to be, needs to be bid.
Yeah, we had talked about that, and I think moving those items, I know when we had donated back several months ago, I think it was Bee Springs, when they donated the hood, taking those things apart, you want the right people taking those things apart, because they can probably do more damage than good if they don't know what they're doing.
He said it could really damage the fire suppression system if you didn't know what you were doing.
Yep. Yeah, overall, I thought the auction was a good turnout, and everybody had fun. I won't say who, but there were some employees that were trying to get my daughter to bid on a ping pong table. But we managed to get out of there without a ping pong table, so I won't throw.
Her
somebody under the
$2
bus.
didn't go
Her
too far.
$2 didn't go far. But we had a good time. Let's go on to the next item. I asked Sean Miller to be here today with DLZ. We've got to move forward on the Shard Cow Bridge. And the next step is the engineering service. So, Sean, if you want to give us a brief summary of what you can provide.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody pretty much knows what's happened with the Sharkout Bridge, and it's sort of failing. I mean, looking at it, along with some of our engineers, it looks like that something came down, some kind of debris took out the center pile to the south, and it's collapsed on one side. So obviously, the whole thing's going to have to be replaced. I know that we've talked at some length about what's possible for a replacement structure. I think as we've looked at it, steel and concrete look like the two most sensible options, based on the fact that there is a lot of debris coming down that river, down that creek. What we are suggesting is to do a full-scale preliminary investigation so that we can decide what's best for that location. That would include essentially 4 investigative categories. First of all, survey and geotechnical, which is going to be the kind of thing you have to do on any bridge that gets built. Hydraulics, which is essentially flood modeling to make sure that the bridge is built high enough that when we have a 100-year flood event, that the water's going to go through without any problems. And then finally, determining what type. As I said, concrete and steel are where we are sort of moving towards. We think those are probably the 2 most acceptable replacement types. But what we'd like to do through this investigation is, based on those 3 other categories, determine which of those would be best. From there, we'll provide cost estimates on what it would take to build. That would include the engineering and design fees. That would include the materials and labor cost for when you actually do your bids and have construction start. It'll also include some other things, some paperwork, permitting, things like that. But we'll have cost estimates that'll tell you pretty much what we think it'll cost from top to bottom. We can get that started fairly quickly. We've got our guys looking at it, putting together a fee proposal now. Obviously, this is kind of new, so we don't have anything yet. We hope to have something to give to the court by the end of the week, so you can look over it and decide if that's the way you want to go. Again, something to remember about this is even if you said today, you know what, we just want a concrete structure, let's go ahead and move forward with that, you're still going to have to do the survey, geotech, and hydraulics anyway about it. So we think by doing those before you start the actual engineering and design, we think that doing that and then considering the options is really your best way to find the structure that's going to be cost efficient, but also long-term have the stability that's needed for that location. Obviously, the timber bridge that was there was not, didn't last. We're looking at probably something a lot larger. 90 foot to 100 feet is what we're looking at. Hopefully something single span, depending on what we find in the hydraulic analysis. So at this point, it's just a matter of us getting that fee proposal together, and if the court has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I probably won't have the answer, but I can get you, I hardly ever do, but I can get you the answers. As I said, we'll have some numbers to show you hopefully by the end of the week. We anticipate that if we get that, start the process, can get it done fairly quickly, move straight into design, and hopefully be ready. Again, this will be, I hesitate to say this because a lot of factors can play in. You know, we may find something in the geotechnical investigation that says we're going to have problems and some things need to be worked around. The hope is, after talking with Wendy, that we can get started sometime in the spring. I mean, that's optimal time to start construction. So, as I said, a lot of factors will play into how quickly that can get started.
Right. We understand that we got to move forward, or the next thing in moving forward is getting the engineer service. So that's where we're at. Go ahead.
Well, I just would say, I know at high water events on the Tennessee River, that bridge is covered somewhere around, I don't know, 338, I guess. I don't know exactly, but we've seen it, close that road several times over the years.
Right.
We want to be, I'd think we would want to spend the dollars. We'd want to make sure we get the thing raised up at least to where it wouldn't be closed on any kind of.
Right, the hydraulic analysis will show a lot of that, and just the fact that you're moving from a 60-foot bridge, and you're going to have to raise it up, raise the abutments up. The elevation is going to increase just naturally because you're going to put in one that's a proper size. But if elevations need to change otherwise, I mean, we'll be able to determine that through this investigation. As I said, it's better to do this now. That way you don't sort of go at it haphazardly and then figure out that, well, we should have taken that extra month and a little bit of investigation ahead of time so that this didn't happen.
Well, the road, it does drop, if you get it up to about the level of the road coming in there, it'll most likely be fine. But yes, that's exactly Well, I just think we need to be sure if we spend that much, that we get it to where we can keep it open even in high water events, if that's possible.
All right. Thanks for coming by, and I just get with me on that
Like I
information.
said, I'll have something to you before the end of the week and maybe
Okay.
sooner.
Okay, appreciate it, Sean, thank you. The Shard Cow, just to give an update on Shard Cow, I know Wendy and I have talked. There have been incidences where, I don't know who on four-wheelers, but they drive around the barricade and they actually are still crossing this bridge. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, if you could see the bridge, it's pretty scary. I mean, it's dropped tremendously on one side, and the people that live there have said that four-wheelers are crossing it continually, and people on foot are walking across it, which is, I mean,
Yeah.
it's scary. I went out on it when we measured it and stuff, and it's
Yeah. So one of the
barely there.
One of the things that we were waiting on was approval from the state as far as getting, we put in for the emergency bridge fund. We've got verbal approval, but until I get the official document, I don't want to say that it's approved. But in the interim, we couldn't really do any work until we got that approval. So now that we did the bids for the removal, I think we're going to move forward on getting that thing removed. Because of the individual citizens, who they are, I don't know, but crossing that structure, we're liable, I believe, so.
Hard to say, we need to stop that at all,
Yeah,
whatever. We need
we've
to
got
put
it
a fence, a gate up.
barricaded off, and we've got rock dumped, on each side of it, and they're still
And
going
they're
around
still
all of
going around
that.
it.
Yeah, and crossing it, so I suggest we take it out also, and that way they can't,
Yep.
I mean, we don't have a.
And I feel we're in, yes, sir.
I apologize. Do you have a timeline on when you think the excavation will start on that?
Well, I know,
I only ask because once the guys come in to do the survey and geotechnical, we probably won't want both things going on at the same time.
so probably best to have it done before they get here.
Either before or right after. The hope, I mean, as I said, if we get things moving pretty quick, we may be able to have that done within the next 3 weeks. I'm speculating here, but I would want to get with the guy that we're going to do. And something I did mention, we will likely subcontract the surveying and geotechnical just to have somebody close by. It's going to save
Right.
money in the long run. Until we can talk to them and find out how quickly they get to it, I wouldn't want to say, but, and I also don't know exactly how long it's going to take to get to it. But that's something we should probably talk about when we move forward, is the timeline.
Yeah, let's do that, because they just started today, the Greer's Excavating. They're the ones that got the bid to remove the bridge, but they're starting today on the sanitation number 2, the collapsed pipe, and that's a I think a 25-foot dig, so that's going to be time consuming for them. So we'll get together and figure out that time. In the meantime, we can, any suggestions on barricading that signage, whatever we need to do to,
Yeah, I mean, we've got several signs, we've got cables across the road. They're continually undoing the cables, cutting the cables. I mean, we're going down there every day and checking it, but on the weekends, it's a continual thing.
okay. All right. But yeah, we'll get with that, Sean, and try to get that timeline, because I think we're prepared to get that thing removed, but I understand the work.
I just don't want to make sure everybody's on the same page and that,
Correct.
Our timeline stays pretty tight and we don't have to, put one thing off while we're doing another. If it turns out that we won't be able to start the geotech and surveying until 3 weeks, 4 weeks out, if the excavation can happen in that amount of time, then there won't be any problem. Otherwise, if we can get it started, next week, which there's no guarantee of, but if we could, maybe better to just wait and do the excavating afterwards.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Let's go under new business. Bid advertisement, the water jetter to clean out the culverts. We talked about that last meeting, but I think we're ready to put out some advertisement to start getting some bids for that piece of equipment.
Motion to
Need a
move forward
motion
with
to
that,
move
that'll be
forward on
fine, Judge. A motion to put bids out for this water jetter.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Need to be sure that we keep it maintained, though. I mean, they
Oh,
are,
yeah.
they are kind of dangerous and.
Yeah, we're
we
gonna
don't
have to
want
have proper
anybody
training
hurt.
and stuff on it. It's
make sure whoever gets it to us has got some training in there too as well, I think would be good.
Next is deed, Harry Waterfield Roadside Park. I was contacted back by the Parks Commissioner. They were wanting to, this was the only one left, I think, out of, was it 31 or 39 tracks, but they wanted to just deed this to us. And I didn't see any issues with it, but they, if we approve today, they will be here Friday to receive it. But the Harry Waterfield Roadside Park is just there crossing the Jonathan Creek Bridge.
We discussed that probably in 2013, maybe 14. And the court decided at that time they did not want the property. And it was mainly due to, it would put us in charge of all the maintenance and upkeep with the ramp and that kind of thing. But more than that, it was the issues with TVA and the leases that they started assessing on all those properties, that we didn't want to get involved in that again, that they had already come up with 2 parks that we were going to have to be paying on that we hadn't paid on before, and they were changing all the rules on us. So a few years ago, the court declined to accept the property.
Because of those reasons.
Yes.
Because of those lease fees.
Yes.
One of the things that I read in here was that we can, if we at some point don't want the property, we can give it back.
We've been doing, I mean, I know we've been doing some, or if not all, the maintenance, not to the ramp, but to the bathrooms
Right.
and that sort of thing. I certainly didn't have any problem with that at all, but, yeah, that lease that TVA decided, that you had to pay to use that area was just, they've hit us on.
Yeah, that was just one of them that they couldn't touch us with.
Right, exactly. No, I don't have any real problem with it. I guess if it becomes a real problem, we can give it back if that's the case.
I agree. Well, with that said, do y'all want to make a motion? I'll make a motion to accept the Waterfield Roadside Park.
Make that motion, Judge.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the new business is Toy York Road. Just to give y'all an update on Toy York Road, I know Wendy and I have been talking about this. This is a complex situation. I'll do my best to try to explain this. Toy York Road, there was a FEMA insurance study done. They've got a AE code for that location, and the best way I can understand it is that it floods quite often. So that structure, the ford on that road, its current location, it's constantly going to flood in that area. The engineers, the state engineers have actually gone out, looked at it with Wendy at the road department, and they've come up with 2 options, basically. The first option, and understanding, I know y'all know this, but the FEMA funds will go towards, and we've got it listed under the PA FEMA funds, so that the initial structure, the ford, those funds, FEMA will provide funds for it to go back into its existing structure. The problem with that is that when you look at the studies from the engineers, they recommend that a bridge or metal boxes, 2 15-foot span boxes at 6.5-foot rise, that'll be sufficient for the 25-year storm. So what that means is that in 25 years, if we get another storm, that structure can be washed out again. They also recommend 20-foot span at 5.5 foot rise, metal boxes, and that'd be sufficient for the 100-year storm. And then the preferred option is the 49-foot span at 8-foot rise, which there was a sample drawing that was attached. This option would be sufficient for the 100-year storm. All three of those options are at the county's expense because they are above and beyond the original condition of the Fords. So FEMA funds would not go towards that. That would be at the county's expense, and from my understanding, it's well over $200,000. And that's just a rough estimate that we looked at. I don't think that includes labor and equipment for the county. The other thing is the road itself, it's not landlocked. I think there's 6 residents that live on the road. It doesn't landlock those residents, I think a quarter mile. There is another entrance that the residents can come in on, so there is some inconvenience for them to change their routes, but it's not something that would cause them adverse inconvenience. The other option, obviously, was to shut the road down. At this point, the road department had went out and dug it up because we didn't know if the requirement with the AE insurance study that they did, there was a requirement of surveying, water flow, all these additional things that have to be done. And then that has to be submitted to Department of Water. Department of Water would then have to evaluate it, and all those expenses, we didn't know if that would be at our expense or if FEMA would cover that. The latest we got on that in this email, if I read it correct, was that we do not have to do that study if we put it back to a Ford.
If we put it back to a Ford, we don't have to do the study because they can take the state engineer's hydraulic study and use that. The AE zone, what that actually means is that it's lower than the base flood elevation when they done that study.
So it's constantly going to flood.
But it's going to flood each time you have a, large rain event. Certainly, that has been doing that for years. I would like to see us put it back as a Ford. I think that's the most economical, other than closing the road. And the only reason being, I think over the years, if you find out, I know it's easy for people to go out each way, the residents, and some of them have contacted me and they'd like for the road to remain open. I think you'll find that oddly enough that under bad weather events on at least snow events, ice events, you'll find out that people travel that road quite often to get around Sinkhole Hill. It's more than you would think. And so I don't know, and I also don't know if that road would be used, and like I say, you got rain events and that closes it for a period of time, then it runs back down if we put in a good Ford. Don't know if it could be used. It will also be used for the new school coming in from that direction. So I think there's still a couple of reasons that we could put the Ford back in. I don't know that the expense of the bridge and upgrading would be necessary, but I think the Ford could possibly be put back in without a tremendous cost, and at least some of that would be defrayed by FEMA dollars.
Right. Yeah, the funds, FEMA, we've got it listed for putting it back to its original condition of the Ford.
I think that would be adequate, honestly, to me.
Been that way for years and years.
The issue we ran into was the study. We didn't know if there had to be a study. That AE zone, I think it surprised all of us, but we got this email, I think, yesterday. So we do not have to do that study, therefore we don't have to pay for it out of our funds.
Good.
So, yeah. But, all right. Well, then, I know they removed the structure, so FEMA's here, so we've got it listed, so we'll move forward with it, putting it back to its original
That'd
condition.
be good. When does that, you think that'll be okay if we get it back in like that?
Yeah.
I mean, we really didn't have a huge amount of trouble with it. Most of the time, it just runs over the Ford and it's all right.
Right, yeah, it just moved all the concrete with the force of water that's
Oh,
coming
yeah, I
down through
mean,
there.
it moved
so.
it, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
It's amazing
We've
how
got
it
all of
can
that
do
cleaned
that.
up now and dug out, so we're ready, we can start. I think we need to dig down and do a footer this time, and
Yeah, I agree. If you could get it on both sides, to dig down and be able to form that up, I think you'll end up putting some pipe back in and then forming
Right.
up, forming up on each end. If you can get that deeper, I think it'll probably stay.
and it'll also help with the jetter when we get that, because we can, keep the
Go in and
rock
clean the, yeah.
cleaned
okay,
out of it also.
Okay. Yeah, I
Okay.
think everybody be satisfied with that.
Good. We'll move on to memo of agreements, drainage issues. I think you had some additional ones, Emily, or Wendy.
Yeah, there's three more. One's at 2634 Cap Springs Road. Then there's another one at 481 Brightsburg Tatumsville Road. And then one at 204 Shawn Drive. All of these are affecting our drainage, and we basically just need to clean the ditches out. And one of them, or two of them actually, is where the riprap has washed downstream from the storm, and we need to pull it back up around the end of the culvert.
Okay. Need a motion? No. Make that motion.
Motion to approve signing these agreements in order to do the drainage work.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, Royal Ross Fire Protection District Audit Report for year ending June 30th, 2015. You got a copy of that? All we need is a motion.
Motion to accept the audit report, Judge.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is appropriations transfer.
I've given you all the backup documentation to back up these numbers. We're going to amend or move from reserves temporarily to fund these line items so that they're not negative to begin with. Then when I do my next budget amendment, I will amend in actually more than this 42,400. It'll actually be $43,164.73, assuming there's no overtime or anything like that with that employee's wages. This is to bring the sanitation district's employee into our system so that they are not running their own payroll, that their payroll will funnel through us. That includes the 42,400 is what the payroll will run. The increase, the difference between what we will get and that is the 2% fee that we will charge them for the handling of their payroll and stuff.
Y'all have any questions? Make a motion to approve appropriations transfer.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the intra-fund transfer.
I'm asking your permission to move from occupational tax fund to the general fund, $500,000, and from occupational tax fund to 911 fund, $78,156.25. Both of those are budgeted subsidies.
Make a motion to approve the transfer.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is approved payment of the bills.
Motion to approve paying the bills, Judge.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I've got one thing.
Yes, sir.
I've been approached a couple of times, that you can correct me if I'm wrong. I guess primarily the rescue squad has been concerned if there's no appropriation for them for equipment or in the budget. But I thought we had discussed that if they needed something, they would bring it to us and we would discuss it and
Yes.
try to, support them in the best way we can. And I just they need to understand that. I don't know, it seems that maybe they don't understand that, but if they need something, they need to simply come up here and bring a proposal to us on what they need, and then, I mean, I believe we'd support pretty much anything reasonable that they need to keep all their equipment up or anything, anything, actually. So I just wanted to make sure we emphasize that. I've had a couple of people that approach me and that, that we're not supporting them, but I'm prepared to support them in whatever they need.
I understand, and that's what was conveyed,
That's what I thought.
and that's what we discussed. And I don't know where that confusion
Well, they had a little
came.
deal on the news about it there
Yeah.
one time, but, I mean, they need to dispel that, yeah, I mean, at least I think the court's prepared to support them.
Yes, and that's what we've done, and it's not just the, it's a good
It's other-
point.
It's other departments
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
It's all the departments. And I think you're right. If there are citizens out there that don't understand, that we explain it to them. That was one of the things that we had discussed, is that if there are needs, then those leaders come in to the fiscal court and express those needs. Yes, I don't know where that got misconstrued, but that's the way it is. We definitely are going to support those departments and those agencies, but they have to come in and justify their needs and explain to us what they're needing. Are they, so these are just citizens, not actually the,
No, there was a couple of citizens, yeah, that asked
Yes,
me why
okay.
we weren't supporting them, and I told them that wasn't really the case.
yeah,
They saw that on the news,
and that's what they thought, okay. Yeah, because I know we've talked with them, and actually, they came and talked with me prior to, I think, that news article, or I think it was WPSD
Yep.
that ran one. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Anything else? I think we've got a park board meeting after this. It shouldn't take long. All right, make a motion to
Adjourn.
second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, motion carries.